we've talked about the hierarchy of right-wing media, haven't we? We've discussed how, in many ways, Fox is like top tier. Quite frankly, if you're Trump, he would rather be on CNN and MSNBC, if he's being honest. Fox is who he can get, okay? Fox is the third tier. Even when they have higher ratings, it's still not the same thing. He wants broad acceptance. He's never going to get it, so he's on the fringe site. That's that. But it's the peak. So if you're going to be in right-wing media, the peak is, with all this talk about people watch more shit online than blah, nah, fuck that. The cable network with the most eyeballs, Fox News, there you go. That's the top tier. And then there's a rather large drop-off to this little sub-tier of Newsmax and OAN and RSBN, which is a tier below that, and RAV, which is a tier below that. And in that general muck, there's varying degrees of Ben Shapiro and other stuff and that sort. And then at the tail end of that, if you do a header off of the ass end of, right, if you're on Jesse Lee Peterson or something like that, and you're just like, I want to really just scrape the bottom of what is effectively right-wing media. I've lost all respect for myself. I just need the eyeballs. Nobody takes me seriously. I'm completely useless. If you find yourself saying those kind of things into the mirror when you're shaving in the morning, more than likely, you're going to end up on Flashpoint. We have talked about this so many times, because Flashpoint set up Trump with a little red phone at one point, but by no means was he fucking going there. There was no way he was going to show up on their show. He would just, talk to them, keep the evangelicals on a little bit of a leash, right? But you're not going to slum around fucking Kenneth Copeland's network to suck up to these dickheads. By the way, and Copeland and those guys have more money than he does. They're part owners in some of the properties he owns. So there's a whole other history as far as like buying real estate under LLCs with hidden, schemes to hide money and blah, blah. Yeah. And yes, for those of you that do recognize him, this is on the left is this fellow Donald John Trump. And on the right, this is Gene the Jesus Machine, a.k.a. Gene Bailey, a.k.a. Captain Sixhead. And this is part 1 and 2 of the Trump interview. We're going to dive into some of it. I might bail. He's selling his book. That's what all these things are, so he can sell his book. And I gotta say, like, I've seen some book tours and where people have, just try and get that book going. Your publicist or the bookseller's publicist will get you, I don't know, a couple of gigs, some podcasts, whatever, to try and get that book out there. It's no joke. You gotta get while the getting's good. And especially a book like this, which no one's going to give a fuck about past a certain 65-day window. So you got to get out there. And that's where he finds himself on Flashpoint. Flashpoint, the genuine butt knuckle of right-wing media. So here we go. This is Donald Trump's interview with Gene the Jesus Machine. No word on whether Skank Kuhneman or Mario Scario or any of our regular, Flashpointers are going to get a chance to dip in there and tell Trump all their predictions about him being president again already and how they absolutely failed to come true. Yes, Flashpoint is a different show. And I don't want to see your Pornhub search results if you look for Gene the Jesus Machine. I do not. Okay, here we go.
Policy. Once you announce you're running,
sorry, hold on. Hold on. I don't know where this started. I scrolled past because it was. Yeah, here it is. Okay, this is the beginning of it. And again, it's an ad for the book. And at this point, if you'll sell the book for him, this asshole will show up.
President Trump, about President Trump, the man.
Yes. And in air quotes, where's Don Jr. when we need him?
Watch. It's my honor and privilege to be seated here in Mar-a-Lago with...
And I'm slightly damp.
Number 45, President Trump. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Gene the Jesus Machine is, I believe, 6'4". I'm just saying Trump isn't as tall as he says he is.
Thank you for letting us sit down and talk. First off, I want to talk about your book, this new...
Because that was the only way I could get the interview is if you agreed to talk about the book. 27% of each question must be book related.
Book, Letters to Trump. Now, what struck me is I just got a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I just, in my preparations, I went, okay.
Ahead of time. And what was surprising to me was the wide variety.
I will always stand up for our great American flag with great underlined and a picture of him molesting Old Glory. It's letters from Trump, notes on fucking hell.
Of people that you know, and you don't, they, in some of their letters, like Bob Hope was joking with you, and some people that...
Wait, Trump's not in that picture, is he? Hold on. Yeah, no, that's Bob Hope. That's Bob Hope. That's John Wayne. That's Ronald Reagan. That's Dean Martin, and that's Frank Sinatra. Please tell me they didn't even bother to get the fucking rights to some of these photos.
Like Bob Hope was joking with you, and some...
What a weird thing for Bob Hope to do.
Some people that you wouldn't expect to see in a Donald Trump book, Hillary Clinton, some of the other folks that are in there.
Right.
It's
Jeffrey Epstein. Do you have why didn't you have a whole chapter dedicated to the emails and notes that you traded with Jeffrey Epstein early on before you got scared of emails and started erasing all of them? Before nobody, no, you don't have a. I would think that's maybe that's in the update.
It's a very interesting peek inside the public life, behind the curtain, peek behind the curtain. But I've got to know one question. What is your most favorite letter in the book?
Well, they're all great. They're so good, and so many of them are so great. And I think some of the best ones were from, Dershowitz and Jeffrey Epstein drew me a cartoon, and it folds up. I'll tell you about it later.
Well, I have a lot of them. One of the
What are you looking at me for?
letters is Billy Graham. You know
Right.
Billy Graham better than...
Okay, this is also, he knows he's talking to an evangelical Christian network. That's all he gives a fuck about. So he's probably going to be hammering the fuck out of this.
than
I do.
anybody. And
Yes, sir.
he was one of the greats. And
Yes, he was big on religion.
a thing called religion, very important, religion.
Yes.
But I think maybe the Richard Nixon letters are interesting, a series of letters. But his wife watched me on a television show, Phil Donahue, which maybe you're too young to remember.
Yes, no, I'm not.
But
I'm
Phil
not.
Donahue,
Remember it well.
Yeah, Phil Donahue had a hot show, and I was on, and she said,
Well, it was hot when you were on it, and then it kind of dove off. I don't even remember if anybody watched it except the Donald Trump episode. That was the real standout. I don't remember him being on there.
he should run for office or he should run for president. He'll win if he runs. And
Well, she was old at that time. She meant Phil Donahue.
she was saying that to him quite a bit, and then he actually put it down in writing, something to that effect. And
Something to that effect. I don't know. They put it in the book. I don't give a fuck. Also, this is the wife of a man who resigned in disgrace. Maybe she meant it as an insult.
he was an interesting guy, but
Yeah, that's you do know. Gene the Jesus Machine. Nixon was sort of an interesting guy.
we have a lot of interesting letters. Oprah Winfrey saying we should run for president together. President
Right.
or vice president, nobody could beat us. She probably regrets saying that, but
Well, yeah, once she heard what your actual policies would be, I think she was kind of joking around.
we have so many. Rosie O'Donnell writing me
saw
letters,
that one.
almost like these beautiful letters.
Almost like these beautiful letters. Gosh, I can't imagine if there's an upside to the book. Buying it won't have the same sort of magical lyrical lilt that him talking about it does.
But once you do what I do, much less so what you do, with you, people love. And with what I do, in order to make America great again, you have to be strong. But even before I gave policy, once you announce you're running as a Republican or perhaps as a Democrat, depending on which side you're on, you lose sort of half of your fan base.
Right.
Oh, don't worry. Half the country hates Gene as well. I mean, I wouldn't say I hate Gene the Jesus Machine. I just think he's an asshole. I think he's full of shit. I think that the fact that he facilitates somebody like Skank Kuhneman on a show on the regular is a denial of his faith. That's just my own personal feeling. That's the great thing about opinions. What I've always said this, kids, and I want you to remember it. Let me see if I can make sure I'm recording on this one, rolling on this stuff. Is it working? Something's weird. 1 second. If I can say anything that I want you to stick with, just remember, opinions are like assholes. If you tell me you don't have one, I know you're full of shit. Okay. That works as a Sparksism.
And I understood that.
Totally.
And we did a really great job. We've had tremendous Christian support and, frankly, religious support, evangelical support.
Yeah, I mean, the broad spectrum. We have every kind of religion, country and Western.
We've had tremendous support from the faith community, which is a great thing today because bad things are happening.
Yes, well said. I didn't realize he could quote scripture off the top of his fucking head like that. That's just, I mean, and to do it in King James English.
That's right. It sure is. I want to
You tell him, Gene. That's right. Sure is.
Ask you about, because you've done a lot of interviews about the book, but I want to know, the people want to know more about you.
Yeah, they do. They don't know who the fuck you are. They understand you paid for a bunch of abortions and used to brag about it to your friends, but you didn't really cop to that in the press, and then you wanted them punished. And obviously you're a second-generation rich kid, and that's got to be a big burden when your dad's genuinely successful, and then you build this kind of farcical bullshit, paper tiger, house of cards version of his wealth after the fact, and then you're only salvaged by a game show that is ultimately a joke when it becomes the Celebrity Apprentice, which is the idea that real celebrities would take instruction from a guy like you. That had to hurt. Tell us all about it.
Donald Trump, the man, the president.
Be careful.
Be careful. But
he's gonna ask me some questions. He's gonna ask me some questions about things I've done in dressing rooms. Be careful. It's like a deposition. Where the fuck is he looking?
And what this does, it really gives us that first little glimpse inside.
That first little glimpse? Motherfucker, you've been saying this guy is a pure man of faith for half a decade now.
You're I was...
An asshole. The phrase you're looking for is an asshole.
Going back looking at some old, when I say old, like 5 years ago, speeches. Right. And in one of those, you said this line that resonates with our audience. You said...
Yes, it was written by someone else who doesn't believe it either.
We don't worship the government. We worship God.
That's right.
It's so true. It is so true. And a lot of people do. They worship... I've seen people praying in front of the DMV, and I think that's wrong. Nobody fucking worships the government, stupid.
And you held up your Bible.
No, it wasn't his Bible. No, it was not his Bible.
Now, that's up to that point. I don't think I had ever seen in any president do that in that fashion.
Right, because it was completely callous and absurd, and it was a bunch of showmanship and had nothing to do with actual faith, and it would be considered bad form as a candidate and even worse form as a politician.
So I think a lot of American conservative believers especially want to know, what was it like? Your faith is very important to you. You've said that publicly.
Yeah, but he doesn't mean it. He said a lot of things publicly that he may I? Hold on. He said a lot of things publicly, like, obviously. He said that. Let's see. He said,
Christopher Columbus, Christopher, huh?
yeah, he said that. How about this?
Here I am like an idiot.
He said that too. So
Somebody like that can write good.
yeah, and he even talked about the ass force.
First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the ass force.
Not since the ass force.
Your faith is important. But what does that mean to the man,
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
Donald Trump?
Well, I think
Which Corinthian is your
it
favorite?
means a lot of things, but more to perhaps your listeners and the people that
Right.
will watch this show. And it's a very large group of people.
So I've got to be careful when I'm bullshitting so many of them, because most of, they like if I say anything, they're going to know I'm full of shit. It's like being at Comic-Con, in a Marvel crowd wearing a DC outfit. It's just
For instance, I was the only president ever go to the big rally they had in Washington,
Right.
which they have on a yearly basis, but I was the only one ever to go as a president.
what rally would that be? You mean the March for Life? It's weird. All the other presidents knew the name of it. You fucking went and can't remember?
Sitting president for life. And
Yeah, just for life. That's what he wants to be, sitting president for life.
people were shocked, but even Ronald Reagan didn't want to take that step. And it was very close, always very close, as you know, to the White House. It's almost like walking distance. But
It's weird. It's almost called, it's not quite the word for walking. There's another word for walking that's more like regimented. I'll think of it later.
went, and I was proud of that. And
Why? You were proud that you went to a thing? Because how come? Was the what?
I think we've been given credit for doing that. But
Jesus Christ.
some people would say that was a courageous thing to do. I didn't view it as courageous. I viewed it as the right thing to do. But
To get those votes.
I was born into a family where my father was religious, my mother was religious.
Uh-huh. Were you now? In what way? What was the practice they were engaged in? Which part? I realize there's probably some going to church concept.
I wouldn't say they were, going to church every single day, but
Yeah, most people don't unless they're actually a priest or they work there or maybe custodial staff or something like that. Usually it's a Sunday, Wednesday kind of thing for most Christians, but
they were believers.
yeah, they believed they would believe in going maybe once a week, maybe twice if it was like Easter.
And strong believers.
In what? Precisely.
I went to Sunday school, which was good and which was expected,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I did it. They made me. I didn't want to, Gene. This is so fucking
It's
pitiful.
like everybody goes to Sunday
right.
school.
That's right. Yeah, everybody goes to Sunday school. You can't not go. I tried to not go, and they were like, no, everybody goes. And I was like, okay. I didn't listen, but
And when you think about it, the world is so different now. Sunday school is not probably on everybody's key list. But
it's not on everybody's key list. You had a key list, did you, when you were a kid?
I remember in those days it was something that was very important. I remember it so well. I'd sit there and you'd learn all of the different, you'd go through the Bible basically.
Right.
Basically, you'd learn all of the, you'd go through the Bible. Basically, you'd like go through it, and see if it had a centerfold. Sometimes the words were underlined. Most of the time, not.
Right.
The greatest book.
Well, if you want, maybe what's your favorite line from the greatest book?
It blows this book away. I have to be honest with you.
That's
right?
good. And
But
glad to
it's-
hear you say that.
Yeah, but
I'm glad to hear you say that the Bible is better than your book of letters and notes to your fucking self. I'm sure you're tremendously relieved, Gene. This is such classless shit.
so I grew up in that atmosphere.
I basically got Bible stuff in me through osmosis. You know what I mean? I got a whiff of the Bible every so often on Sundays at some point right. I was around it. That counts.
And I think that made it easier for me to do what I'm doing now. But I've been...
Do what? Bullshit Gene the Jesus machine? Yeah, I'm sure. Although I would argue that Gene's desire to be more like you, a thrice married misogynistic prick with a lot of money, is more the reason why Gene is attracted to talking to you than his just bemused amusement that you were around Sunday school and you caught a whiff of a Bible verse at some point.
Very, very pro. And not just Christianity, religion.
Yeah, I'm pro religion in general. Satanism. Anybody who worships the great spaghetti monster in the sky. I'm a big fan of Hindus. There's a lot of them, and some of them vote, and a lot of them have more money than other Americans. So there's that and whatever. I understand a lot of, my Nazi friends like to borrow Greek and Norse god stuff, even though they don't really believe it. They like the symbols on clothing,
Religion, because
I have no attachment to any of them, and I don't want to be pinned down in particular, even though I'm kissing evangelical ass right now.
it's being hit very hard.
It is. Religion in general has taken it's had a rough couple of years, maybe because of its representatives. Maybe its biggest problem right now is that the loudest purveyors of it are often the most awful. Just spitballing. I don't know.
I will say this: Christianity, I believe, is being hit much harder than any other religion. It's incredible when you look at.
Oh yeah, totally being hit way harder by its own practitioners. You look at the number of youth pastors being arrested just for molesting teenagers. It's like, why won't they leave them alone?
What's going on in Congress, and you see, 15 years ago, this would have been impossible to happen. But you see now they're very much discriminating against Christians in favor of certain other religions, and you know that very well.
No, he doesn't. What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean, Jews? You creep? We don't have a state religion, dumb fuck.
Absolutely.
I think.
What do you mean absolutely? You don't know what he means, Gene. You're just saying absolutely because you like him showing you affection.
We have to change that around.
Totally. Change it around. Absolutely. To what exactly?
President Trump, when we think about religion.
By the way, can we just look at how fucking amazing that was? This asshole goes, what is church and what does religion mean to the man? Your faith is very important to you. You've said it. What does it mean to you? And what he just fucking said. But, just religion is good, and you had to go to Sunday school. And I think in the Congress, they're being discriminated against, and we got to turn that around. Like, have you ever seen anyone dodge a question on their faith and faster and more completely and with zero pushback?
Religious liberty. You were a champion of religious liberty. You talked about that.
Yes, we know he talks about stuff, Gene. That's all he fucking does. Whatever you do, Gene, don't go into how do you live your faith? How do you walk in the Lord? Don't do it. You're going to hate the answer.
About the Johnson Amendment right from the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Allowing churches and pastors, which we didn't really take advantage of.
Yes, the Johnson Amendment really did allow churches and pastors. He finally, without Trump, you weren't allowed to have churches and pastors.
What you did.
You didn't take advantage of because you were so used to not having that privilege.
Right.
But I was able to totally mute out and discredit and legally even get rid of because we were never going to enforce it.
Right.
The Johnson Amendment, which said that pastors and reverends and people and priests and rabbis and others, but a lot of people like me.
People who don't pay taxes and who view their kingdom above their nation and who tell that to people for free, tax-wise, all the time.
Respect and want to hear from, you weren't allowed to make any statements at all about politics or certain other subjects.
No, you just weren't allowed to endorse candidates, specifically advocate for certain candidates, since you don't pay any fucking taxes.
And I didn't even know that. I was at a meeting with 50 ministers, pastors,
Well, yeah, because it's not like you've been to church.
a couple of rabbis, a couple of other.
And two of them walked into a bar, and it was as funny as you would think, Gene.
And a couple of others, actually. It was incredible. I looked at this room and I said, you're the people that I really
need to talk to, because you've suckered people into giving you money. I've seen some of your houses. You have Ken Copeland. You have a great plane. You have Flashpoint. It's making money hand over fist. You've tricked people into believing your bullshit for years. You don't even behave like a Christian, and yet they still chuck money at you. How do you guys you want to go in with me on Art of the Deal 3?
I want to hear from, but I never hear from you politically. You never make your voice known. And I didn't know there was a
Make your voice known. You mean heard? Jesus Christ. Does he know any of these phrases?
I think people saw that loud and clear. Johnson Amendment at the time that really precluded them from doing that. And I said, you have such power. You have more votes than women, and you have more votes than men, because you have more than 50%. So the women are 50 and the men are 50, and you're much more than that if you added it up as a power block.
As a power block. Yeah, he's just trying to get them to get him some votes. It's basically like the religious version of the Georgia phone call.
So why aren't you using that power? And nobody wanted to sort of say, they're all looking at me like this guy must be a novice, but I'm asking, why don't you use your power?
Why don't you yell at people and tell them they're going to go to hell if they don't vote for me?
So that you can be treated better. And then one person said, well, we have the Johnson Amendment, which basically would take our tax exemption and our tax basis away from us, which is
our tax exemption and our tax basis away from us. Yeah, because you would cease to be a church and become a secular organization.
It's unbelievably severe. Would put you out of business. I said,
it's not a business, motherfucker. If it was a business, they'd pay taxes.
So that actually the people, and I was at the top of Trump Tower, way up high.
Yes, standing above all of them in a robe.
And I looked down at the sidewalk and you see all the people. I said, so anybody off the street then you're saying has more power than the people in this room, because...
No, they don't. Because those people have to fucking pay taxes.
They've silenced you.
That's right.
And they sort of
No, it isn't right.
agreed. They said, well, and I ended that. I took that and I said, you're not
They sort of
going to do
agreed.
that. And we never enforced it. And we essentially ended it. In fact, I was going to put it very soon. I was going to put it into the new legislation for taxes.
Yeah, I was going to do that very soon, but then I lost. Which apparently God just wants you guys to have to pay taxes if you're fucking around, just saying.
And have it permanently ended. But we essentially ended it.
We essentially fixed it. Like, I kept the promise I essentially kept the promise. I mean, you can't do it now, obviously.
And then we had a very, unfortunately, we had a horrible election.
What? What happened? A horrible election. I haven't heard about this. Have you guys heard about this? The election. What a boy! Oh my God! Was it at one of these like gatherings? They're picking bishops or something?
Horrible, just horrible. What happened?
Oh, it's horrible.
Like a third world country. We had a third.
Oh, it's a third world country. I mean, honestly, let's see. As the third, I have a third world country. Yeah, there you go.
A ninth world country, not a third world country. A ninth world country.
Okay, well, important to clarify.
Third world country election, but I'll finish it this time. But the Johnson Amendment's a terrible thing, because the people I want to hear from are essentially not allowed to speak. I want to hear from you.
Right.
You can hear from him. They just can't advocate and campaign. The fuck are you talking about? He met in private with all these fuckers. They all did. Reagan used to meet with Billy Graham.
And you really can't say what you want to say. But during my term, they were allowed to do it. Not everybody believed it. Not everybody did it because I think they were almost programmed not to do it. But they were getting more and more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're saying that religious people are very easy to control, and that once they get into a habitually believing something, it's hard to get them to.
So it was very important.
You're right. They were programmed.
They were programmed. That's
Yeah,
true. They
that's
were
all
so
they knew.
used to the other.
The robo churches is the worst kind,
Right.
What showed you the power of Lyndon Johnson? He had a
giant penis.
minister, I believe, in
Oh, I thought I was going to say something else. That was my bad. I can't predict them all.
Dallas,
That's right.
who he absolutely disliked, and they had a tremendous war going on, and he didn't like what this man was saying about him, and he literally put this Johnson Amendment out and got it passed,
Yeah.
which basically said people aren't allowed to speak about politics if you happen to be Christian or
Right.
anything else. You're not allowed.
No. People can do whatever the fuck they want. Pastors with congregations will lose their tax exempt status if they proselytize for a candidate instead of their religion of choice. Separation of church and state, dumb fuck.
To speak. And that was called the Johnson Amendment, which was a very powerful
Wait, Gene's just hearing about this. Slow down.
thing. It showed you the power of Lyndon Johnson to be able to get that done, but we took it away.
No, you didn't.
All right, Pastor Hank, what'd you think?
Oh, fuck you. You bringing Skank Kuhneman in on this? Well, please, I'm gonna jump ahead to the rest of the interview because I don't need to hear from fucking Skank Kuhneman. But let's hear from him for a second to see what his answer was to that, or what his feelings were about the answer about the faith of the man.
President Trump, he spent quite a bit of time talking about the Johnson Amendment. I want to get.
Did he? I didn't really notice. I mean, I think he repeated a couple of things, but I don't remember, honestly.
Lance's take on that, but as a
Lanny Walnuts is there too?
pastor, you understand the what pastors across America that want to stand up, their hesitation because of their 501c3. Do you believe that still is as big a deal now?
Well, I think it needs to be a big deal. And first, I just want to say this, Pastor Gene, what an honor it is to
What an honor.
watch you interview President Trump.
What an honor it is to watch you interview President Trump. Jealous much?
And what an honor that God gave you, and also to the Flashpoint
Oh, such an honest. Yeah.
Army. So thank you.
Yeah, the Flashpoint Army. Just to get that kind of a scoop. I mean, he must really be hitting rock bottom.
For making yourself available. But as a pastor, something that we have to remember, and when Jesus, we often talk about, the
Yeah, we talk about Jesus. Yeah, sure.
return of our Lord. Well, his first appearing, the shepherds that were chosen by God were the ones that were watching over their flocks by night. And
Yeah, they were flocking around at night together. Understood.
my responsibility
They were getting their flock on.
is not to ignore the darkness, the evil,
And the Lord came forth in the darkness, shining a light unto them and said, go flock yourself. And they did, and it was good.
but actually watch over my flock. And
Watch your own flock. Mind your flock and business.
so what I appreciated about what President Trump did for us is empowered shepherds to speak boldly and say, hey, this is dark.
And not have to pay taxes.
This is what darkness looks like. This is
Yes, well, if anybody knows what darkness looks like, it's Donald Trump.
the special interest groups and what they're trying to do to destroy our country. This is the true definition of traditional marriage. This is what God said is marriage.
Yeah, you can say that too. Nobody was fucking stopping you. They just didn't say, vote for this candidate because they will do this. That's all you got to leave out. Talk about all that shit all you want. Any of the social issues, any of the economic issues, give unto Caesar what is Caesar, or fuck, like paying for the government's sins and on behalf of the people is wrong, and therefore I believe you should withhold your taxes. Don't take me to court on that. And then we'll do that. And you're allowed to say all that shit. You just can't say vote for him and he'll make that happen.
Man and woman, and we don't alter it. And also we need to be able to address and say, look, there are evils that are coming through.
Ew. Just for the record, I'm gonna skip ahead because I don't need this. I don't know how much time they had with him. This is a 40-minute clip. It's interview 1 and 2, part 1 and 2. Was that part 1? How much? There's Lanny Walnuts bullshitting himself through this stuff, wearing his Trump tie in celebration. Pastor Mark Burns wearing his Trump tie. They all knew it was happening. Fucking, okay, now here we go. Jesus Christ, here we go.
President Trump, you of all people
should know that a grown man wearing a diaper, people can tell. There's not enough fluffy French furniture in the world to hide that.
When one looks back just at the last, let's look from 2016 when you came down that escalator.
2015, I think.
You immediately met opposition. Now,
well, I think the people they were confused. They thought that was the down escalator. The down escalator was the up escalator, and they were just standing at the bottom. I don't think they meant that.
I know you'd had opposition before that, but let's take it from that point. You immediately met so much opposition, impeachment twice, and everything that went on. Yet the American public never saw you flinch. They always.
What are you talking about? It was a sweaty, angry mess almost the entire fucking time. He's whingy. He whines constantly. But he acts like he was more persecuted than Christ. You of all people should know this, Gene, the Jesus machine.
Saw you come out. You have that warrior mentality that came
warrior
out
mentality.
And said, I'm going to do. How do you do that?
Yeah, how do you do that? Because I've read the Bible all the way through, and honest to God, like normal shit scares the fuck out of me. I don't know. I saw that poster about Jesus and 2 pairs of footprints and 1 pair, and then that's because I was carrying. I don't know. What's your secret?
Well, I think you have to have that mentality, and
one of the ways you do that is God.
I think I had help from my parents genetically because, you know.
I had help from my parents genetically. Because you're taller than some of the people?
If a certain type of person would not be able to do it, and you need the
I'm sorry. Did your parents give you Adderall and benzos?
kind of a person that can, because these people are trying to destroy our country. I love our country. And when they have open
thanks for the super chat, by the way. Oh my gosh, Benita, thank you so much. Happy birthday.
borders where 15 million people are coming in, many from mental institutions and from prisons. Right. You have
totally. Have you seen Hank? Cuckoo.
Countries that have completely emptied out their prisons. They have no prisoners. Do you know what that is in terms of not only danger, but in terms of the money that they save? Right.
Yeah, they're saving so much money on prisons because they don't even put people in prison anymore. They mail them to the United States, care of Ted Cruz.
Emptied out their mental institutions. I read an article recently where a
security guard said, I don't have anything to do because I looked for it. I couldn't.
A psychologist was.
Oh, it's a psychologist now.
At a mental institution, a good man. He said, for all my life, I worked 24-hour days, and now I have.
He must be exhausted. I don't know. I don't know about you, but he sounds crazy. For all my life, I worked 24-hour days.
We have almost no patients here. We have almost nobody here. In fact, soon we'll have nobody here.
Yeah. They're sending everybody up here. Anybody with OCD or, agoraphobia.
All been let go into America. Mental institution, people.
Mental institution, people, guy, scare, do, say word, make fear, you think, yes. Also, scary man.
Insane asylums, which is.
Insane asylum, crazy people, crackpots, also crack.
A step above a mental institution, they tell me.
Wait.
Insane asylums, which is a step above a mental institution, they tell me.
Uh-huh. Why, were you asking directions? Fucking hell. Is it a step of Jesus Christ? Oh, God. Listen to that shit again. This is a grown man.
Some insane asylums, which is a step above a mental institution, they tell me. They're being led.
Who's they? Who the fuck said this out loud? Well, it's insane asylums. That's like a mental institution 2x.
let go into our country. And we've got to stop it. We're not going to have a country any longer. The dollar as a standard is not going to be there very much longer. They're trying to end that. China's trying to end that. And if you look, we've lost Brazil, we've lost Colombia, we've lost Russia, we've lost China whenever they want.
I'm sorry. I don't have time to give a fuck about those countries in particular.
The power of this, and that would be like losing a war.
Or winning one and not having to deal with those assholes anymore.
Power of having the dollar standard is a tremendous advantage for our country. And under Biden, that dollar standard is being challenged. So tremendously bad things are happening. Maybe the worst is the fact that we're pretty close to nuclear war, in my opinion. I'm watching it. I've been pretty good. They have a lot of hats and a lot of things, and I'm not going to be the one to say, but they say Trump was right about everything.
I have a lot of hats and a lot of things. Excuse you?
A lot of hats and a lot of things, and I'm not, in my opinion. I'm watching it. I've been pretty good. They have a lot of hats and a lot of things, and I'm not going to be the one to say, but they say Trump.
They have a lot of hats and a lot of things, but I'm not going to be the one to say.
Was right about everything. If you look, right. I was right about the pipeline, Nord Stream 2. Nobody ever heard of it. I canceled it from Russia. That was the biggest thing ever happened to Russia. They said, you're supposed to be good to us. You're not good to us. I'm the worst thing that ever happened. But I still got along with Putin. But I said to Germany, why would you do that? You've had wars with them. And I sent Angela Merkel the white flag of surrender. Pretty well-known story. I said,
yeah, it's a lie. You held up a napkin because your Pentagon generals were telling you this.
Because you have had a war. They control your energy. You're going to surrender on day one.
And that didn't happen. Weird.
But so many bad things have happened. And so many things over the last 2.5 years. We have to work hard just to go through another year and a half.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to have to work hard. On the one hand, you've got a lot of legal troubles. And on the other hand, apparently, let's see if we can do this. There's I think I have it in here. Is this? Let's see. Was it Forbes? I think. Hold on one second. There's an article. Yeah, it was an article about Trump's business acumen. Yeah, here it is. Let's see. There we go. This you'll enjoy this. Hold on one second. Okay. Here you go. And this is an article, by the way, that Trump's a big fan of Forbes. Yeah. Trump failed to see inflation coming, and it's costing him more than $1 million a month. Okay, so he co-owns or has equity in this 3-building office complex in San Francisco. He has a 30% interest in the property for years, alongside publicly traded Vornado Realty Trust, which owns the rest. In May 2021, the partners secured a $1.2 billion variable rate loan that provided them with more than $600 million worth of cash and plenty of risk. So this is together, all of them went in and they got $1.2 billion, which is double what the fucking property is worth. And they kept the other part of it and used it for other shit. This is your Armando Montalongo flim-flam that Trump is always involved in. Inflation was already creeping into the economy at that point, though the Federal Reserve and Treasury were insisting it would only be temporary. Savvy investors protected themselves from potential rate hikes anyway. Stephen Roth, the CEO of Vornado, executed a 3-year swap to replace the variable rate on his firm's $840 million portion of the 555 California loan with a fixed 2.26 rate. He locked it in he got $840 million at a 2.26 rate. Trump let his $360 million float freely, ensuring his interest expenses would fluctuate up and down as central bankers moved rates. Initially, Trump's strategy looked smart as he began with a roughly 2% interest rate, while Bernardo was paying 2.26. But in early 2022, after the Fed realized the inflation was not going to go away on its own, it started jacking rates, which it was never going to stay at 0.125 anyways, which is insane. You should have known that, but whatever. The America's most famous real estate tycoon is now contending with an estimated 5.93% interest rate on the property. That is more than most personal house mortgages as far as their assessment of risk on his part of that loan. Putting him on track to hand over $21 million of annual interest expenses, $13 million more than he would have if he'd just followed Roth's lead and locked in that fixed rate of interest. Just hang out for a second. Know that this last 3 months, Trump's lost $3 million just randomly because he's great at business.
Weaponized our justice system at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Everything's disinformation, like the intelligence agents, 51 intelligence agents, signing a letter. It's probably treasonous that
it's not.
Hunter Biden.
Hold on, wait. Is that an edit or that was just jumpy? Hold on.
Signing a letter. It's probably treasonous that Hunter.
Oh, yeah, they sliced that. Did you see that shit? Probably treasonous. He probably, more than likely, he brought up the whole, like, you can get killed for that. You should get killed for that. If it's treason, you should get killed. They should kill these people. They should be killed. And even Flashpoint was like, it's a bit far for our Jesus show here. Watch the jump. Look at the jump cut.
Signing a letter. It's probably treasonous that Hunter Biden's laptop, his laptop, we call it the laptop from hell. But can you imagine Biden when he first saw it? But he might not have even understood it, what it meant. I don't think he understood what it meant, but let's assume he did. Can you imagine when he saw this laptop with all of the photos that are inappropriate and everything else? But these 51.
Who gives a fuck? I don't care. This is page 6 bullshit. And again, this is like, can you believe these 51 intelligence people? They came out and said that this was what we call a laptop from hell. It was just it was terrible, just naked pictures of the son of the president, and that kind of just terrible. And they're saying this might not be worth a fuck.
People signed a letter that it was Russian disinformation.
Yeah.
And can you imagine Putin? I mean, not that he's an angel, because he's certainly not, but can you imagine all of these things being thrown in his face? Everything was about Russia, 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 and it was all made up.
Nope.
The laptop from hell was...
Which doesn't exist.
...made up.
Yes, it was. It was made up. Doesn't exist. There's no laptop.
Dossier was made up. The fake...
No, it was written up.
Dossier that they made...
No, it's a real dossier. You can disagree with the contents of it or say some of it's real and some of it isn't, but that's Oppo research for you.
When me going to Russia turned out to be it was a fake story.
He went to Russia. What are you talking about?
And all of this stuff. And it will happen to another one unless we beat them. It's a deep state thing, but it'll happen.
It's a deep state thing. That's just the thing they do.
Whether it's me or hopefully it's going to be me, because I understand it and I've been through it and I fought it. Look, we had fake impeachments.
Jesus Christ. Can this guy actually stay on point about fucking anything? He's talking to evangelicals. He has a book he's pitching. How hard is it? I don't want to give the guy fucking tips, but this should be pretty easy. This whole interview should be a fucking layup.
These are bad. These are sick people.
They're bad. They're sick. They're sick. It's just, oh, God.
Free health care for illegal. Look.
I know.
Actually, sick people.
They're very sick people. Hold on. Let's see. I think, do I have, where is this? I know there was one about sick people that I have here. No, maybe not.
Oh, yeah, that's normal.
Nope. Okay.
And they're destroying our country. And they're destroying religion in our country, which is...
And by religion, I mean all kinds and your kind, and which is good. And but I have been this thing.
Is what you and I are talking about.
Are you, though?
Right.
But they
Because it sounds like you're whining about the same shit you always whine about. You know, like a man.
are destroying religion in our country.
How? How? Through the Johnson Amendment? It's been around forever. How? Maybe the removal of the Johnson Amendment is critical to the destruction of religion in the... No, he's never going to think that through.
Even if you look at COVID with the churches, where certain groups of people could gather, but churches can't.
Right.
And
Certain groups of... He means protesters in the street, outside. That's what he meant. That's what he's talking about. BLM. He's talking about certain people can get out in the streets and they can, you know, they can hang out together, but you can't do it. First of all, a church is an enclosed fucking space. If you wanted to have a tent revival or out in the middle of a fucking field, rules wouldn't apply. But you didn't, because this is about squeezing money out of old people
so many other
before they die, and him trying to hasten that time.
things, like so many other things. What they've done to religion in the last 2.5 years is unthinkable.
Yes, you can't think of a single thing they've done to religion, so therefore it is unthinkable.
And then you'll have some groups that will come out and support the Democrats. And, you know, you'll have to explain that to me someday, or,
I don't think I can.
okay? I mean, no, it's
I don't even understand it, because I don't understand women, Don.
incredible. Or what they've done to Israel is so bad.
Oh, it's terrible what they've done to Israel, where the United States did a where we stopped the that thing.
What
Yeah,
they've done to Israel, and nobody
horrible.
has been better to Israel than I have. And yet you'll have a large group of people that will automatically support the
Jews. He means Jews.
Democrats. And
Watch where you're going, buddy. Watch it. Thin fucking ice. You fucking mango.
under the Democrats, Israel will be destroyed because Iran will have a nuclear weapon and they'll destroy Israel. They will use it too. So when you say I fight
That's another
because
cut.
we have no choice. We have no choice. And there's nobody else, I don't believe, that knows how to do this. And we have some
Yeah, nobody else knows how to do politics and do the thing with the politics. Everybody else who's been president of the United States has just been a placeholder waiting for Trump to come along and fix this fucking country.
great people. We have some great warriors, and we need them. We're going to need them because this country it's very sick right now. When you look at the problems, when you look at inflation, all of this stuff was self-made. Inflation, what they did is they wouldn't give you energy. Energy went through the roof, and then everything else was infected, so to speak.
That's right.
Yes, they wouldn't give you energy and everything was infected, so to speak. Yeah, that makes total fucking sense. I don't know why.
They don't like the gas. You know, it went from $1.87 a gallon to $6,
When no one was going anywhere.
$7 to $8 in some places.
And it's not anymore. It's half that.
Well, that causes inflation at a level that we haven't seen in over 50.
No. All right. First of all, a country's entire economy restarting after a pandemic where everything was effectively shut down for fucking months, where you know, millions of small businesses disappeared for fucking ever, and then the country starting back up again. This is going to be the impact. Ask any country in the world. I forget which one I saw yesterday. Like not Argentina, might have been. Yeah, Argentina is at 106% inflation.
50 years.
Like this, we stop pretending COVID didn't fucking happen.
And it could get worse, by the way. And
You wish.
they stopped energy independence. We were energy independent 2.5 years ago.
We still are.
And now we're begging people to give us oil. And
No, we're not.
yet we have more under our
I call it liquid gold.
feet. I call it liquid gold. We
Fucking hell.
have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia, than anybody.
No.
And yet we're going to them and begging them for energy.
Or A, we don't, and B, what reserves we do have, we want them to last longer, and we can afford to buy them from other countries for a period of time. And then after a while, they're going to run out, and then we will have the only supplies left on the planet and a stronger, more advanced economy. I mean, if you think ahead.
It is a sick thing.
It's sick. Ooh, look, did you see that fucking edit? What kind of demonic bullshit was that? Watch his eyes.
For energy. It is a sick thing.
What? His eyes just blinked up. What the fuck? Call the QAnon people. What the shit? Watch the. Hold on.
Against religion. They're totally against religion.
They're totally against religion because they don't want it to be eaten up by politics. Watch his eyes again.
It is a sick thing.
Ugh! What the shit? Yeah, I think he'll get to eggs next. That's amazing. That's like, they tried. I got to give them credit. Way better than the jump cut from before. Yeah, way better. That's like, holy shit. One more time. Watch his eyeballs. I'm gonna hold on. I need to. Yeah, I can play this. Hold on.
For energy, it is a sick thing.
Nice try, Flashpoint, but we caught you, and you're full of shit. And yeah, it's Demon Trump, everybody. I just made a clip of that for later. All right, so here we go.
Against religion, they're totally against religion.
Totally, they hate religion. They hate it. They apparently want to hold their Bibles right side up. They want to go in the church and actually study. I mean, who does that thing? And don't think for a second that because I'm awkwardly looking at the camera during this interview that I feel caught and am aware that I'm bullshitting you and your viewers, Gene. Don't even think that for a second.
How do you get elected on these things? And unfortunately,
how do you cut this much out of a fucking interview with Trump if you love him that much? How dare you? How dare you, Flashpoint, cut his words? I mean, why don't you just rip some pages out of the Bible? Do you even MAGA?
the courts didn't have the courage to back these basic things. Or then you had the FBI and Twitter.
Oh my God, this is like they got tired of his shit and just started fast forwarding. Like, oh my God, the editor was just like, nobody's gonna watch this. Fuck it. What? Look at the
religion. How do you get elected on these things? And unfortunately, the courts didn't have the courage to back these basic things. Or then you had the FBI and Twitter files, right? You had the Twitter files thing where the FBI told them about the disinformation. They gave them total disinformation. And, you know, frankly, I think Twitter participated with them. It wasn't so hard to convince them. So you know the truth. And the truth is...
Oh, my God. It's like... Gene, did you allow this? You just let him just ride it, let him ramble this shit out? You're like, you know what? Cut a bunch of that shit out. Nobody's fucking want to hear that shit. Like, we're gonna get in trouble.
It's very sad, actually.
I think Kenneth Copeland reviewed the footage and went, "You can't let him say that. That's fucking awful."
I will say this.
No, of course not. Kenneth Copeland's awful.
If we win, and I don't think people have forgotten about that, because I think there are a lot of people out there looking, and a lot of things are coming out every day, and our country is going down.
Jesus Christ! They're just literally. There's no excuse. This is just bored. This is just the editor. I think their head is their head fell on one of the hotkeys on their keyboard, like every clack.
Down the tubes. Our country, we're a failing nation, and this should have never happened. All self-imposed, but this should have never happened.
Self-imposed.
Looking back,
don't make them look back. It's hard enough with them looking forward.
your first days in office, this time, you win the election and you're back in office. How will things be different from the beginning?
Well,
yeah. What have you learned? And I know your ego is so fucking delicate. You can't admit to learning because that means you were wrong at some point, and you're of such low character, you can't even recognize where you need improvement. And I appreciate that, because it's my kind of thing. But tell us all.
One of the big things, Pastor, is that I was never in Washington other than 17 days.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
They have it at 17 days. I never stayed overnight. So I wasn't a Washington person. I was a New York person, real estate
What's the whole never stayed overnight part? What did Lindsay give you a handy and you just caught the next flight out? Who gives a fuck?
person in New York. And Washington wasn't a big factor for me. And all of a sudden I'm riding down Pennsylvania Avenue with 400 motorcycles in front of me and everything. And I say, I'm president. I say to the first lady, do you believe this? I mean, it was a very surreal experience, if you can imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That night you're standing in front of the Lincoln bedroom in the White House. I say, can you believe this? The fact is, I wasn't a Washington person. And
now you are.
what happened is all of a sudden, through, it's almost like sink or swim, throw the baby into the water. You know that. Sink or swim. But
no, that's not how you teach a baby to swim. What the fuck? You throw the baby into the water? What? You know what? I used to be disgusted by the fact that he thought that raising children was women's work and that, he wasn't even interested. But I think it's the only way his kids have survived. You throw what the fuck?
Sink or swim, throw the baby into the water. You know that. Sink or swim. But
no,
that's what happened because
yes, you were thrown into the water like a baby. Is that why you act like a baby? Because you see yourself as a fucking baby? What?
was there. I've gotten to know everybody. I know the good, the weak. I know the strong. I know the rhinos, who can be very dangerous, by the way, and in a way more dangerous than Democrats because you don't know where they're coming from. We got some real bad ones. But I know them all. I know the whole thing.
Yeah. So you came in selling us on the idea that you know the best people. Now we know that's not true. So the sales pitch is that for next time is that hashtag the worst people. Cool.
And I survived a system that was very corrupt.
Yes, first he was afraid, he was petrified. Just thinking, how could he live without, a baby by his side?
With the Russia hoax and the impeachment hoax over a phone call, over a perfect phone call. Think of it, over a perfect phone call. All of this stuff, the Mueller report, that was another witch hunt where I had 18...
Fuck, he asked you what'll be different when you become president next time, you whingy fuck. Oh my God, move on. God, maybe this is a holdover from yesterday when we were talking about we watched that ridiculous manhood video with Ben Shapiro and that and John Heilman stunt double. And I'm like, you guys are so clamoring about manhood, and yet this is the weakest example of what it means to be a man you could possibly fucking have. Ugh. Good Lord. Grow the fuck up.
Trump-hating, Republican-hating Democrats invest.
Boo fuckity who. You're in your late 70s. It's well past time to get over it. Fucking this is the first time in your life you're dealing with the concept of haters or something that you earned, by the way. What a fucking wuss.
Investigating me, the Mueller report. I mean, think of it. And the end result, even with that, was no collusion.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, think of that one. No collusion.
Yeah, well, that's your low-res hypnosis. No collusion. Think of no collusion. Now go to sleep.
So I know the people now so well. Before I had to rely on others to give me advice as to who we would put in certain positions that were.
Right. So, excuse me, again, hashtag the best people. Didn't this motherfucker run on the idea that I know all the best people? We have stupid people running our government and everything from trade to the economy to, I don't know, the judiciary, like everybody, they all suck. They're idiots. Everybody up there is idiots. And then he shows up. So what do you guys think? Like, he ran on knowing the best people, that he was going to bring, that he could call the best people on the phone and say, hey, best person, you know the greatest judges, economists, accountants, whatever the fuck. right? Ah.
Very important positions. I now know the people so well. I know them better than anybody. I know the fighters. I know the strong ones, the good ones, and I know the bad ones too.
What the fuck are you talking about? He wasn't happy with anybody in his cabinet at the end. He didn't correct himself midway through. That Jeff Sessions guy was ass. But Bill Barr, that's fucking money. He hated Bill Barr by the worse than Jeff Sessions. How in the fucking world?
So we had some fantastic people. Look.
No, you didn't. You hated everybody. The only person you didn't bitch about was Wilbur Ross because you were hoping he would funnel fucking money to you after you got out of office. And he did.
Biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history. I rebuilt the military. Sadly, Afghanistan got $85 billion worth of it. Nobody can even believe that.
Yeah, because it's a lie. We didn't leave behind $85 billion worth of gear in Afghanistan. That is the sum total of all of the gear and the training for it that was during the entire invasion, during the entire occupation and the post-invasion occupation government building exercise.
But Space Force, right to try, such a big...
Good Lord. I can't even fucking...
First new branch of the U.S. Armed Forces in 75 years, Space Force. Not since the ass force.
Not since the ass force.
I guarantee it's big for the people that are watching your show and the people that believe so much in you, where we have space age, we have things.
Yeah, God, lives in space, right? He's above us, and then, which is sky, and then at some point you run out of sky and it's space, and it's very big. It's like twice. It's like some people say 10 times as big as the sky, and that's got to be where God lives. So that's basically his house. So I build you guys an escalator to God's house. You're welcome.
We have the greatest labs in the world, the greatest doctors in the world, and we have things that won't be approved for another 2 or 3 years.
Because they might kill the person before another treatment comes along, because people are working on treatments all the time.
But people are sick, and if we could use them and for...
No. Use the drugs, not the people. You're not experimenting on... Oh, fucking hell.
58 years they've tried to do it. It's actually more complicated than it sounds because the doctors don't want it. The pharmaceutical companies don't want, they don't.
Why? Of course they want it. What the fuck are you talking about?
Want it on their records.
They want it on their records if people die from their shit.
Insurance companies don't want it. So anyway, I worked it out. So everyone's...
I'm like, I don't care. Look, I worked it out. They're going to die anyways. What's the big deal?
Happy. And now thousands of people are being saved where they would have died.
And other people are dying sooner. So it's kind of a trade-off.
But they're being saved by very, very into the future medicines and...
Very, very into the future medicine. Not to be confused with Back to the Future medicine, which I think contains plutonium. And I don't... Marty!
And lots of things. And we're very, very proud of that. But
listen to this guy. This is, I usually don't get kind of like a TED Talk in the middle of these.
Being saved by very, very into the future medicines and lots of things. And we're very, very proud of that. But thousands and thousands of people are being saved.
Very, very into the future kind of thing.
We did a lot. And a lot of people think we've done as much as anybody. And now...
We did a lot, and a lot of people think we did as much as anybody. Whew. What was the question? I have no fucking idea. Turn up the soundboard. Oh, I'm sorry, was it too quiet? Some of these are very quiet. I'll bring this up. How about?
Oh yeah, that's normal.
Is that better? Okay.
We want to go back and finish the job.
That's Biden's... Finish the job is Biden's fucking campaign slogan, stupid. Jesus.
President Trump today, as we're recording this, Tucker's been released from Fox News. It's Bongino's out. Tucker's out. What does that say to you about mainstream media?
Yeah, tell us about mainstream media. And don't, while you're at it, take any pot shots at the shitty butt knuckle part of media that you find yourself on now. I mean, we know you'd rather be on Fox no matter who's there. You'd rather Don Jr. get that time slot, and you don't give a shit about Tucker because he kind of hates you, according to his text messages. Anyways.
Well, the only good thing is that Don Lemon's out, and that's good because CNN, fake news, they fired Don Lemon. That's good. The Tucker situation and Bongino, that's sad. These are two great people.
One of whom said you were a monster.
Two very important voices. Look, they're going to do incredibly well. We don't even really know. Maybe they left. Okay, it's possible they left.
No, it isn't.
But something bad happened, and taking
something bad happened that made them leave.
Those voices off television is very bad. It's very bad, and certainly it's not a good thing for Fox. So I was very sad to hear it.
I don't think the $787 million was particularly good for them either. I mean, cut your losses.
Very sad.
And that's why we.
Oh, look at this edit. Look at this shit. Hold on one second. Back it up.
So I was very sad to hear it. Very sad.
And that's why we have to stand up even more.
We have to stand up more. We're going to stand up stronger and bigger. And in 2024, we're going to win the White House back, and things will be different than they are right now because right now we have a nation that's in such trouble.
Such trouble. I mean, you know what the nice thing about this? He doesn't sound at all like Pat Robertson while he was losing his mind at all. He actually, this is the perfect show for Trump in a lot of ways, because fading televangelist is like his speaking accent.
You don't even know if it could last a year and a half.
I'm pretty sure it will.
Yeah. So we're going to do a good job.
Well, you can't even tell unless Jesus comes back, in which case, that's a good thing for, and I know you, so you're going to put in a good word.
Thank you, sir. Listen, the book is Letters to Trump. I recommend you get it. And I especially appreciate the personal touches in here of the letters. Everybody from Nixon to, like you said, Billy Graham and
That's right.
Bob Hope.
That's right. I said that. I did say that.
That's right.
Joke.
That's right. You said that. I remember that. I remember it like it was yesterday when you said that. Because how long have I been talking? It's been a week now, right?
You need to get the book. You won't regret it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there he was.
Oh, you'll never be that happy again, Gene. It's all downhill from here. So sad. But I got a special surprise for you, Gene. I do. He put out one of his videos. Yeah, and the great thing about it is, like his love life, or his sex life more specifically, it's blissfully short. This one's he put this up 5 hours ago. President Trump slams Joe Biden's insane decision to revoke Title 42. Because Mexicans are dirty, diseased people, so dirty and diseased. And here they come, and they say it's 3 million, but it's going to be 5. And if they say 5, it's going to be 8. And if they say 8, it's going to be 12. And they say 12, it's going to be 50. I think it's going to be more like 30 million people crossing in just the next couple of days. Okay, this is frozen. What happened? All right.
Under my leadership, we had the most secure border in U.S. history by far.
Thanks, COVID.
Replace catch and release with detain and deport.
Yes, and it's much better. Detain and deport is so much. It sounds like a brand thing. Sounds like a game we played on The Apprentice.
Successful policies was Title.
Why the fuck is this so quiet? I got to turn the fucking thing up.
42.
It's as loud as it's going to be.
Which allowed for instant expulsion of any illegal alien who crossed our borders.
Instant. Anybody. And even if they deserve asylum, even if they have good cause, even if they have family in the country that is willing to sponsor their immigration, anybody. All we had to do was not set up the ability for them to come in legally, pressure them so much that they try to cross illegally and then use that as a way to make sure they can never come in the country again. It was a simple system that Stephen Miller, well, I really thought of it, but Stephen Miller worked it out or whatever, and he loves that kind of stuff, and he's very well respected in the being awful category.
If they were bad, we got them out.
If they were good, fuck them too.
Out fast. Those who
If they were good, we got them out even faster.
trespassed into our country could be immediately sent back to the place from which they came.
Whence, I think, is...
Every would-be illegal border crosser knew that with Donald Trump in the White House, our border was closed. It was absolutely closed, and they had no chance of getting in. And
Well, we also had more COVID cases than Mexico did, so a lot of them were just afraid.
therefore, they didn't come. When Joe Biden came into office, he terminated every successful border policy that was put into place.
No, he really didn't. The only thing they didn't do is blindly separate families and lose track of 800 fucking kids.
Including remain in Mexico, one of the best of them all, deliberately throwing open the borders and instituting catch and release and resettling untold millions and millions of
Then millions and millions and billions even.
illegal aliens.
Illegal. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce it?
Look.
There you go, thank you.
Into the United States. They're now your neighbors. Congratulations.
Congratulations, now you've got illegals, and they're illegal, they're just being illegal right next door. Congratulations, look next door. See those people? The Wykowskis? Yeah, those are, the Smiths, all of them illegal. Congratulations.
Now Joe Biden is preparing to remove the last remnants of my Title 42 policy.
Your Title 42 policy, did you write it up? Did you draft Title 42?
Just a few weeks from now, wiping out the few remaining shreds of our southern border. Hundreds of...
Well, I would blame it's supposed to be a wall, and you ended up making a slat fence, and those slats kind of, I think that's what tore it all. It gets snagged on things, it kind of juliennes fry. We got the only border wall in the world that can julienne vegetables.
Thousands of people will pour in that day, and the judge already said that's what's going to happen.
He did? Oh, God, it's terrible. He said that, did he?
This will mean complete and total mayhem and...
Complete and total mayhem. Complete?
Again, the words are conditions.
Conditions and complete.
Utter lawlessness and unlimited numbers of...
Yeah, the audio is very low, and I don't know why.
Fraudulent asylum seekers flood into the United States unchecked. They are unchecked. Nobody has any idea where they...
Nobody's checked them. They don't have any checks with them. Many of them don't even know how to balance their checkbook.
They come from. They don't know if they're healthy, if they're sick, if they're insane, or if they're coming from prisons.
That's pretty much your, these are your choices for immigrants?
Already, tens of thousands of illegal aliens have massed on the Mexican side of the border. They're getting ready to storm.
Not tens of thousands. It's almost like spring is here. And it's fucking May. I know what you're thinking. This happens every May, but this is special.
Storm across the moment Title 42, which is so important, is officially gone. Can you believe they're getting rid of it?
I can't believe they're getting rid of it. I think it's just ending because they can't justify it anymore because there's no longer a COVID pandemic, which you guys clamored for as well on a national level. That's the distinction that made Title 42 work. At the same time, by the way, they can come across. That doesn't mean they get to stay. They get their case heard is the only thing.
And when that happens, countless more will charge in from all over the world. They're coming from all over the world.
And they're countless.
And some of the states like California are saying, come in and we give you free health care, free education.
What terrible people. Oh my God. Have the Christians at Flashpoint heard about this? It's disgusting.
People hear that from other countries. They say, well, that sounds good to me. And they're making a mass charge toward our border.
Yeah, even the ones that live across the ocean who are swimming here as fast as they can. Of course, there's always that thing about sharks.
It's absolute lunacy.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a mass resettlement of millions and millions of illegal aliens into your communities. and the invasion will be aided, abetted, and facilitated by the Biden administration's every step of the way.
The Biden administration's every step of the way. Is that the name of the program?
Every path they take will
Every move they make. The Biden administration will be watching
be
you.
made easier by Biden. Congress should move immediately to choke off and terminate all funding for catch and release. We should ban Joe Biden and the communists and the administration from using a single federal taxpayer dollar to set loose illegal aliens.
Well, I technically, that's cheaper than keeping them, right? Taxpayer dollar, as opposed to incarcerating them, I suppose.
Into the United States. Now is the time we have to fight to make sure our country survives, because our country cannot take 2 more years of this invasion. And when I take the oath of office on January 20th, 2025,
You look very excited at the idea. Will you be this orange?
we will immediately begin the process of fully securing the border and removing the illegal
Begin the process? What you mean the wall is bullshit?
aliens Joe Biden is unlawfully allowed to break into our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So good. You can't. Yeah. So that's the latest. By the way, like, subscribe, help me, help me, please, help get me out of this ridiculousness. These terrible people I have to stare at.